You're listening to PARTNERNOMICS podcast, where we discuss the art and science of developing successful strategic partnerships. To learn more about the suite of PARTNERNOMICS solutions, visit PARTNERNOMICS.com.
Welcome back to another episode of PARTNERNOMICS podcast. I'm your host, Mark Brigman, and on today's show, we have Dave Fitzgerald with us. And so Dave is the Vice President for Strategic Alliances for Barco, a really cool, very innovative company that we're going to have a chance to learn a lot about. As I was doing a little bit more research into Barco, I noticed that they had over 400 patents. So I love technology. I'm a technology junkie, so I know we're going to enjoy this conversation. But thank you, Dave.
You're welcome, Mark. Thanks for having me.
So Dave, I would love to just kind of start with, I'm fascinated and love to hear about people's story and how they've landed where they are now professionally. So if you don't mind, I'd love for you to just share, how did you kind of start into your career? What was the first role? And then, you've definitely carved out a career in the partnering space. What caused you to land in this world of partnerships?
Yeah, I think it may have started pretty early. I think my first job out of college was in the management training program at a large global electrical distributor a couple of decades ago. And I think that's really the beginning of the, sort of tipping I'm an economics, I have a BS in economics from the business school at the University of Dayton, and, was not a technology guy. The electrical industry and communications was certainly a step in that direction. And just the basic nature of a distribution model gives you exposure to a lot of different products, a lot of different product ranges. It also gives you exposure about how those products are used together and how they get bundled together by the people that actually integrate and deploy technology. So you sort of get a firsthand view of how things get integrated in the different components of technology. And as I moved through my career, it got a little bit more higher and higher tech. I worked for Tektronix for 10 years, and we developed the first distribution channel products for that company, and we rolled those out, and they were quite successful. They're still very successful today. I think they're still the largest selling products that Tektronix had ever made. They're oscilloscopes, and then moved into a little bit more on the defense and aeronautics and security side. Which was again another case where lots of things have to come together to provide solutions to support large aircraft and armament sort of platforms. And then part of the security piece worked in a security integration world in New York City, building systems for critical infrastructure. And again, all of the pieces that have to come together to be able to provide a secure infrastructure are absolutely critical. So all of those sorts of things brought me to Barco, and I joined Barco with their command center, in their command center business.
So Dave, how long have you been with Barco, and what is it that they provide? So
I'm starting my 10th year with Barco, and Barco is a global manufacturer of visualization products. We provide visual experiences for customers in the healthcare space, the entertainment space, and the enterprise space. In the healthcare side, we make high-end mammography and OR monitors, and also the gear that helps transmit the data from monitor to monitor at very low latencies. So it's getting the right visual information to the right person at the right time in the right format with the right quality. So all of those things have to come together. The same thing in entertainment. You'll know us from entertainment. You'll see our projection systems and our LED systems around the world. You'll see the projectors at big museums, mapping images on buildings and, events like the Super Bowl and large conferences. And then on the enterprise side, that's where the command center team is, our command center team, which produces control rooms for the power industry. About 80% of the power in the U.S. is monitored on Barco walls, Barco visualization walls. and we make products for education, some distance learning products for education, and then the product that I'm mostly involved in now is ClickShare. And ClickShare has been a very successful product. We're coming up on 1 million rooms around the world that have the ClickShare product that enable sharing and now enable connecting to meeting rooms with the camera, speaker, mic, and being able to host video conferencing. So pretty broad range, but the common theme between all those is making sure we deliver the right visualization and the right experience for customers to be able to access information and display it where they need it and how they need it.
So Dave, we were talking about ecosystems, and especially in the world that you are in, there's so many different players and components and technologies. I mean, that's just looking at the technology itself, but then even going beyond technology, we have to market it, sell it, distribute it. There's a big web out there. Talk to us a little bit about the ecosystem part that you are playing in now, and then even you created this team on behalf of Barco, if I'm not mistaken, to launch this new product. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so the product originally started out as ClickShare, and it was a product that you plug a button into a laptop, you press the button, and you share to a screen. So that was wireless presentation. And that's done very well. As I mentioned, we have about close to 1 million rooms that have a ClickShare product in it to host collaboration and to host content sharing. We added a great deal of capability in a new platform in the same family, and it's called ClickShare Conference. And it allows you to walk into the room, run any session, like we're running a Zoom session today. We could be running a team session or a Cisco a WebEx session, GoToMeeting, PEXIP, whatever it might be. Walk into the room with your device running on your device, and you share that content to the screen, but you're also connecting to the room. And I'm using it here on the call with you today, Mark, but you're actually connecting to the room. So you're wirelessly connecting to the camera, the speaker, the mic, and the display. So it adds video conferencing capability to any room. And with everybody coming back to work now, everybody's now a PhD in Zoom and Teams, right? They've been using it for 6 or 9 months, 8 or 9 months out at home and trying to figure it out. They come back and they're all experts at it. They'll be able to come back into the office, use the same user interface, and connect to the room and incorporate and include all those that still haven't come back to work yet. So it's going to be very important going forward. So ecosystems for us were very important because we make the ClickShare product and we don't make the screens. We don't make the camera, the speaker, or the mic. So it was important for us to make sure we had an overall solution. So my team and I have focused on building a partnership, a family of companies that have come together, understand the product, have signed up to test with us to make sure it's compatible as we come out with new software, and to make sure we promote it together. So there's a marketing element, there's a technical and engineering element, and there's a strategy element.
As Dave, we talk about with our strategies to grow different organizations or to grow our teams, to grow revenues. There's 3 ways we do this. Organic, we're going to build it ourselves. There's acquisition, we're going to get the checkbook out and buy our way to growth. Or the third way is through partnerships. Can you talk a little bit about, just from your strategy of continuing to help this product grow, how you guys have looked at the lens of growth through those different avenues?
Yeah, so I'd say we have a hybrid at that as well. I mean, we talk about hybrid meetings. We have a hybrid approach to that. Of course, we have made acquisitions, a series of successful acquisitions at Barco. What I'm focused on is more the partnership part, of course. And I think it was a KPMG study. There's most CEOs feel that the fastest route to innovation is through partnerships and not through acquisition. Not that acquisitions are bad, but the fastest way and the broadest way is through partnerships, and that's what we've focused on. And we've been focused on some of the biggest, the biggest and best names in the industry. On the display side with LG and ViewSonic and now Samsung, on the audio visual side, on the AV side with the cameras, speakers, and mics, with Logitech and Polycom, with Aver, with Yamaha, with some new companies, Hudley, and then some tried and true companies that have been in the business for a long time, like Shure. We have a very broad set of partners. And then the other piece I mentioned around that was that's sort of the core, but we also take a larger view. So if you think of that as the core, and then the valence electrons that are just outside that, there's other influences, there's other software, there's digital signage, there's things like furniture, for example, that has a big play for how people collaborate, how they work. It's where they live when they get to the office. So we find that working with the furniture companies has been a very important aspect as well.
Yeah, whenever you take an ecosystem approach, you go pretty wide with it and really understand all of the different components that can affect or impact the customer's experience. Yeah. And I think that's obviously a really smart way to go.
Yeah, and we do try to focus on customer experience in everything we do.
Yeah. So talk to us, Dave, if you would, a little bit about, so we talk about the power that can come through cross-pollination. And whenever we are engaged in this partnering thing, we have an opportunity to work with and learn from other professionals, other industries that we find ourselves partnering with. But how throughout your career have you worked with or kind of cross-pollinated? You share these different examples and best practices and just kind of different ways to do things better. How has that made an impact on your career?
Yeah, I think that's been core to any of the partnerships, and whether it's distribution partnerships or rep firm partnerships or sales team partnerships or now ecosystem partners, having those deep discussions about how we're going to go to market, how they see the market, how we see the market, and both sides sort of learning and refining their pitch, so to speak, or refining their way to get to the market.
So Dave, you've set up some different channel partner programs or different partnering programs in general throughout your career. I'd love to just pick your brain and have you provide some of your insights, some of your lessons learned, some of those recommendations on whenever you're asked to stand up a new partnering program, what are some of those first steps that we got to make sure that we nail as business leaders?
So I think when you start the process, of course, you survey the market and find out what's important to your customers, what's important to the strategy you have around the product, and what's the path in between. And you pretty quickly can come up with, you look at market share leaders in different sectors. Those would be clear. There's going to be some that are going to be more competitive than others, and you may have to, not focus as much there. Although, there's lots of opportunity to try to find common ground, even with people where you have some overlap in different products, but where you have synergy, you focus on that, and you're just just be very forthright about, hey, I know we compete over here on this, but here's a space where we don't really have a conflict, and we should see how we can help each other. And in some cases, it doesn't work out. In some cases, it works out just fine. One of the exercises that we go through that's been very very valuable, we go through what we call a needs versus contribution matrix. So just like any good consultant would have, if you don't have a good 4-box matrix, you're not worth your salt. But the needs versus contribution exercise is interesting. You take a look at the needs that each of the companies have. More exposure in one sector of the market, more capability in one part of the solution, and you sort of size that up for both companies, and then you look at the contribution, where what strengths do you bring? You might be strong in one market, they might be strong in another market. You may have a distribution channel that focuses on IT, and they have one that focuses on AV and unified communications. And if you cross-pollinate those two, you can expand both of your market reaches. So we go through that exercise, and it's quite helpful. The other thing we do is we go through a sort of a messaging palette, and And it's really a brainstorming session. We make sure we bring all the elements together, make sure we understand each other's branding guidelines, make sure we understand each other's products and what the key functionality in the market and the differentiators that each of those products have. Bring that all into one, we just bring it into one big presentation, so to speak. We all share, and then we go back through it. And then at the end of the day, we come out with some common messaging. So how are we going to present this product to the market? What are the things we're going to focus on and stress with customers? What's the real value, the combined value proposition that we come up with? And marketing campaigns will spin out from that. Sales enablement tools will spin out from that. And those are two big components on how we get started.
Dave, I love how you talk about, what I hear is alignment, just understanding knowing what you need as an organization, having your partner understand truly what they need, what's the value that they need out of it. And any great partnership, you have the mix, right? You have the ability, you have the synergies, and you have the overlap. We talk about having your partner's strategy, the avenue that they're going to be on, the road they're going to be on, that path. You have to have intersection with that. Mm-hmm. And having those conversations up front to overtly, explicitly have those conversations up front, kind of this dating phase, to really understand what are those mutual areas of interest and need that we have, and then getting the commitment from each other to get that value out of the relationship. It boggles my mind how many times different organizations jump into partnerships and they don't really uncover, they don't go through the exercise that you just described to really get clear on what success looks like. Yeah,
and we want to put enough structure into it that we have a program. We've just rolled out a new program with quite a bit of structure around it, and we're trying to automate some workflows to make sure that things can happen more easily on both sides, right? So that it's a lighter lift for both sides. But it's also important to be flexible. We've got to be agile as market conditions change. We may need to pivot and say, okay, well, we're not going to focus on that product as much anymore. We need to focus on this other product that you have. So let's take a look at that. How do we run with that? So being flexible in the partnership is important, as well as sort of the structure that you need to have around it.
So Dave, talk to us a little bit about the perpetual management of relationships. So we kick this partnership off. Hopefully we've set some sort of explicit goals or milestones or intended outcomes for that. And then we have some metrics, some data, some KPIs that let us know if we're on track for that. We've got our little scoreboard. And then we also have our ongoing meetings where we're staying connected and having those conversations. Talk to us about what you see as kind of best practices for doing that, or maybe even looking through the lens of a truly strategic partnership, as opposed to maybe a more transactional partnership where communications or constant communications might not be as critical.
Yeah, so we have a regular cadence with many of our partners. Especially the ones that have bigger market share. We want to make sure we get the most out of those relationships. I'd say that the cadence of, okay, we're going to have a recurring meeting every week at Wednesday at 9:00. That's okay, especially if you're in a sprint to get something done. But I think in that case, you have to also be flexible too. That it shouldn't be so regimented that you just have regimented meeting after regimented meeting. So there's times for that. There are times for business review meetings, either semi-annual or quarterly business review meetings. Those are important. Some of the new tools, and we're starting to look at more tools on how do we incorporate this into our CRM platform. Many people are far ahead of us on that. We just haven't initiated those yet. But it's very clear that those kinds of platforms are useful for any of this kind of this kind of relationship. It's it's critical on the distribution side because there's a lot more operational things happening. There's daily business flow and orders and distribution orders and point of sale and all those sorts of things that have to get reported back. So that has a real operational need. It can't function without them. With the Alliance program, as we build it, we've been able to do it without it, but I can see clearly that we'll need more structure in how the program is managed going forward. It just gets too big to manage manually.
Yeah, Dave, how many partners, or how big or how expansive is the relationships that you have now? Because it seems like some of your partners are coming at it from different angles. I would imagine you talked about some technology partnerships that you have, but then also on the sales front of how you'd have opportunities to get into new markets and to take advantage of some of those relationships. This ecosystem area. Let's peel the onion a little bit on the ecosystem and just kind of talk about the different components that you're in with this product.
Yeah, when we started the program, a little over a year ago, we for this particular product as it was rolling out, we felt like we needed to have at least 12 partners that were 12 core partners, people that were we looked at the market. We've actually been very successful. We have over 30 partners now, but some of those are core, some are smaller players, some are in that outer in the outer rings of influence. Some things that are ancillary to the core product. But we've got over 35 partners signed up for the program. So we've already blown through this year's goal. 6 months ago we set some goals for next year. And we're getting close to being there already. So it's growing at quite a rapid rate. The part of it is that the market, it's very clear in the market that this is a need, and it's a growing space, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now, especially with the virus and everybody working from home. When everybody comes back, how is that going to be handled? Everybody working from home has been doing video conferencing. We've just gone through the biggest experiment in history with, human behavior on how productive can we be, not in an office. And I think we've proven that not only can we do it, but that it's actually, a better way to have, having a mix of this hybrid mix is really a better way to accomplish things.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, no question. There's lots of CEOs and lots of business leaders out there that are learning of different ways and better ways that they can manage their finances and manage their resources, just given this experiment that we've been thrown into. Dave, what are some of as you look forward within your organization and in your team, the product suite that you have, the solutions that you provide, what are some of the greatest opportunities that you see over the next 6 to 12, 18, 24 months for your team and your organization? So
I think the clear opportunity for our organization is we have meeting rooms that are all going to need to have some element of a hybrid solution of being able to have the meeting in the office and incorporate a lot more people that are outside of the office than they had been used to. There's about 40. There's depending on the research organization or the number you want to listen to, there's between 40 and 50 million meeting rooms in the world. That really, if you're going to have a meeting, you're going to need to incorporate an element of this hybrid element of people that are not going to be there physically. And so over the next 2 or 3 years, that's really going to be our focus: is how do we address that space? Do we address the work from home space as well? That's still to be determined, but our focus is clearly on the meeting room and on the ad hoc spaces. It's an interesting trend that we're seeing that it actually started before COVID, but about 40% of companies are looking at non-traditional meeting room spaces to have collaborative events. So they're looking to use the town square in the office space for a meeting. They're looking to use the cafeteria. They already have some displays in there. How can we use that for a larger meeting when we can't get everybody into the boardroom? The boardroom used to hold 15 people. Now it can hold 5, right? So where do we have that collaboration session? So I think it's those kinds of things, not only the meeting room, but other spaces where people need to collaborate.
So David, obviously you've been really successful, and it sounds like you really enjoy your role being in the partnership team and leading your guys' functions there. What is it about partnering that caused you to stay? What is it about this role that you enjoy that has you want to really plant your flag in this specific role?
Well, I think, in many respects, it's the best job in the company. I get to work with the best, companies in our industry and work with some of the best solutions for our customers, for our joint customers. So from that perspective, it's very exciting. Just the technology and the ability to bring better experiences to customers is always fun. There's an element of sales, there's an element of operations, there's an element of marketing, there's an element of overall business strategy. So it's quite fulfilling.
What is the thing that you think is maybe the most misunderstood part about the role in strategic partnerships or guiding strategic alliances? What's maybe something that our peers in other departments might not understand about what we do?
So I think one of the things is, putting a finger on, because, there's an accountant somewhere that's looking to say, okay, how many dollars are attached to that, right? And that's all, that's just like marketing or just like advertising. We think about half of our advertising is effective, but we're just not sure which half, right? So it's that same conundrum that we have, that getting more data and getting more analytics out of the interaction is becoming a little bit easier because people are focused on it, and everything's driven by big data and AI. So, but I think that the one thing to try to put a number on it today, so to speak, is difficult sometimes, because what you do as a partner now with a company could have an effect for quarters upon quarters down the road that wouldn't have happened if you didn't do what you're doing now. So I think the long-term benefit is overlooked sometimes. For the cost of the short-term, the short-term cost that has to be applied.
But it seems that a lot of this in the partnering role, it's the long-term game. It's the long-term tool. It seems like in sales, right? We have that monthly quota that we're working against. And in marketing, we have this strategy, but it's about getting certain messages out into the market within certain periods of time. But in partnering, a lot of times we're trying to weave together a web, and we're dependent on these different actors and players that are going to take part in this web. Sometimes it's an ecosystem, a word that we've used a lot. So there's a lot more of interdependencies, and it seems that a lot of times people don't understand the difference between kind of that more typical transactional nature of running a business, and then really going up into the clouds and doing that strategic piece that involves a lot of different interactions. And to your point, sometimes we have to make pivots. Sometimes new opportunities open up that we need to reposition for to take advantage of that. It's not always a straight line in the world of strategic partnerships.
Yeah, we can turn on a dime. If we need to, if somebody says, "Hey, we're coming out with a new product," we can take a look at it and align pretty quickly, and then march off to try to to leverage or take advantage of that new initiative that one of the partners has, and they can do the same with us, and we just start ratcheting our market shares up together.
Dave, one last question for you before we let you go. I'd love for you to talk to that young professional that's maybe in college or coming out of high school, whatever the case may be, and he or she is intrigued with this profession of biz dev, strategic partnering, strategic alliance management. What kind of advice would you give to him or her of things that they could do to position themselves to be in this role and be effective in this role in their career?
So I think a sales background is great. I think getting a sales background for a couple of years is really important in all of this. Finding a role in a marketing organization that covers multiple products, like a distributor or like a reseller, one of the a direct marketing reseller. Those kinds of roles give you exposure to lots of different companies, and I think that those would be two areas that would be a good jumping off point for being involved in business development and alliances. I'd also say that especially now, understand as many platforms that you can around analytics and data capture, data collection, data visualization. All of those sorts of technologies are becoming more and more important. I would have a real focus there. That's a differentiator. That would be a differentiator for you. Find roles where you can sort of take, where you'll have a view of the field and not be so focused on just one thing. If there's roles that have products that have, a good variety, or, a distribution organization or a reseller, as I mentioned, would be a good place to get that kind of experience.
I've heard lots of people talk about the partnering role as almost like a general manager, like a mini CEO, just because we kind of have our fingers in a lot of different pots. We see the company all the way across. You've mentioned a lot of these different aspects, from marketing to finance to product development to execution, implementations, legal, doing agreements, those sorts of things. It's a very vast role. And I think that's awesome advice, to just try to understand how business works first, and understanding that, because I think that will really help position somebody for success.
Yeah. And then, understanding those, the basic components, operations, sales, marketing, analytics, and reporting, and then being able to sort of cut that across multiple partners. With 38 partners, you can imagine, we've 35 partners that we've had those kind of discussions with, with the sales leads, product leads, marketing leads, and executive management at most of those places. So having a sound base in those main categories is really important.
Definitely. Dave, thank you very much for your time, sir. Thanks for sharing your insights. I greatly appreciate it. It'll be fun to watch you continue to do your thing over there at Barco. It'll be fun to watch you continue to push this product out across the world.
Hey, Mark, thanks so much. Appreciate the opportunity to talk with your audience.
PARTNERNOMICS podcast is brought to you by PARTNERNOMICS. Learn how to leverage the power of partnership. To listen to more episodes of PARTNERNOMICS podcast, visit PARTNERNOMICS.com.